Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that. Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. I am joined today by David Piatek from VA Housing Education. How you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing well, actually warm this time where I'm at. It's in the 70s, so you can't hold
Okay.
that against me this time. How are you?
Hey, I can't complain. It is 84 degrees here today,
All right.
so I got to get out and go to Sam's with my wife, so I'm definitely looking forward to that
That's
today.
awesome.
All right. Hey, so today, Dave, we are going to be talking about what are the top 3 misconceptions as it pertains to VA home loans and VA compensations. I guess there's some vets out there that they just don't understand, or maybe they don't
Yep.
want to understand. So we are going to clarify some things today. So I'll let you go first, sir. What
All right.
is the one? I don't want to say the top, but what is one of the misconception as it pertains to VA home loans?
Okay. So there's a couple things that go with it. And just I think in general, VA benefits are one misunderstood. And a lot of people from the housing side disqualify themselves, right? And same thing with VA disability. Because I've been talking to a lot of people, thanks to reaching out from YouTube. They're like, up until like 2 years ago, I didn't even know I've had any benefits, and I've been out for 20 years. So all this information is very relative. So what I'm going to talk about, the top 3 things, is around where veterans get either steered away from using their VA home loan benefits, or they self-deny themselves. So one of the biggest misconceptions around the VA home loan is that it takes forever to close. And this is like clockwork. Every week we talk to, from my personal experience, that say, well, my agent or this lender said that we should do this other loan product because it takes too long to do a VA home loan. Now, there's probably some truth to it if you're trying to close in 12 days, right? That might be difficult. But if you're talking about a 25 to 30-day timeline, I don't see why that'd be an issue outside of maybe things in the transaction coming up. But from an underwriting perspective, from a appraisal perspective, you are going to be within that 25 to 30-day time frame, which typically is enough for most people across the country. But again, I think if someone doesn't have experience working with veterans and VA home loans, the experience is going to be very different. Like, I'll talk to people, the agents, they'll be like, that's impossible. You can't do this or that. And I'm like, well, watch what happens. And then we deliver on that, because having experience, knowledge, and kind of going through this over time, we know what to look for and kind of go through that process. But these misconceptions that exist in VA home loans, definitely a lot of misconceptions exist in VA disability. So, Dwayne, what is one thing that veterans have misconception about when it comes to even trying to get those benefits?
Well, one is a lot of veterans, they'll say or tell another veteran they need a VSO, claims agent, or lawyer, or consulting company. And that is not true. That is simply not true. This process, and I know a lot of veterans, they're going to be like, I can't believe you said that, Dwayne. It's easier than what you think it is. And this, what makes it easy is when you understand the guidelines and references and regulations that VA employees are supposed to follow. So when they don't follow it, you know they didn't, and you know what your options are. This is something that veterans can do themselves. A lot of people say, hey, I've been following your channel for the past 2 or 3 years. I did a reset. I did what you talked about in those videos, and I'm at where I feel I should be at. And I've never talked to them on the phone. So a little education of being educated on this process can go a long way. People think, hey, I'm gonna go get a lawyer and I know I'm gonna win. Nobody can guarantee you
No.
anything, anything in life for that matter. But you don't need a VSO, you don't need a consulting company, you don't need a claims agent, you don't need a lawyer. This is something that you can do yourself. But David, going back to your number one, a question that I have for you, I know you talked about 20, 30 days.
Yeah, 25 to
Now,
30 days, yeah.
right. So have you seen a difference in the length of time it takes. Let's just say someone living in an urban area like Chicago, New York, and LA, opposed to someone living in a remote area like North Dakota and Montana, as it pertains to not only the time frame, but getting appraisals done.
So that's a very good question and a very good point. So and this also kind of goes into a broader conversation of like should veterans use somebody that works in that area as far as like the lending needs, or can they work with somebody in the national perspective? So the VA does set, depending on where you are in the country, from the time, like the days that the appraiser has to get an appraisal back. So that doesn't change. But what we've noticed is that in major areas where there's a large population, they typically have more appraisers, and coupled that with, let's say, like in Tampa, where there is a base there, right, where they have a lot of veterans, a lot of people are using the VA loan. So the VA actually goes out and looks for these independent contractors that are appraisers. They hire them. I guess they don't hire them because they're 1099 contractors, but they certify them, and now they have a bigger pool on like who can actually go out to these properties, which has been very positive. And one thing they did in the last couple of years is they've actually increased the price of an appraisal. And some people are like, well, why did they do that? Well, because no appraiser wanted to come in and do the appraisal. If everyone's paying $700, but the VA is paying $300, people are not going to want to do those appraisals. So they really brought it up to where the market is, which that leads me to kind of into the second big misconception around the home buying process, which is probably one of the top things we hear from listing agents around using a VA home loan from a veteran side, is that the appraisal process itself, one, takes forever. We kind of debunked that with the first one. But the condition of the property is always misunderstood. So the VA has what's called its minimum property requirements, and all this information can be found in the VA handbook. Okay, and the property just needs to be safe, sound, and sanitary. So just like what you do, Dwayne, the VA sets out has a guidance for us. So it's not like we just make it up and go, well, this is what we think. This is like literally in the handbook. It's 616 pages. So if you need some help falling asleep, this is a great book to read, okay? Because that's what's going to happen. But these items that are listed, typically, let's say most appraisals come back, from my experience, pretty clean. The number one thing that comes back would be like peeling paint, right? And what veterans don't realize is that a lot of times, depending on the lending institution, they can do an escrow holdback. I'm not an attorney to go full into it, but essentially, like, let's say something costs $500 to fix on the appraisal. Well, most people think like, well, the sellers are not going to pay for it. I can't pay for it, so we don't have a deal, and the deal falls apart. But the reality to that, Dwayne, is that if a lender allows you to do a holdback for those repairs, then you can do those repairs later. And the VA came out and said, like, yes, this is allowed. And sometimes you can even request waivers, so they take that off completely. So there's a lot of options that you have, but it's really the team that you work with through this journey for that. And an attestation to you, Dwayne, is that we do talk to a lot of people that are like, I talked to Dwayne, I got 100%, and I never even called them once. And then they also use this information to help other people. And that's kind of the point of what we're doing. Is it's not just you that you may have this ability, or you may have already used the VA home loan, but it's how you help your other battle buddies that are out there disseminate that information, because of how much misconception there is around just the program or getting benefits. Because I see this on a day in, day out basis. So that's how we met. Like, I was learning about the VA disability process, and then when I talk to people, I'm like, hey, this is a resource that knows this, plus you're a rater yourself. But what's the next thing, Dwayne, that you come across as a misconception?
So veterans think if they file a new claim, regardless of what percentage they're at, the VA is going to go back and look at everything. And that's just not true. As a former VA rater, I could count on one hand out of adjudicating hundreds of claims that I had to go back and look at something. And it wasn't, and 9 times out of 10, it was something the veteran had did wrong way back then. and then they came in and got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Okay.
Ah,
One, the employees are on quotas, so they don't have the time to do it. But there are some instances, and it's very few. I would say it's probably even less than a 1% where they have to go back and look through the entire claims file. Now, this is my VA claims folder.
wow.
This is everything that I sent to the VA, and this is everything that the VA sent me. And I built this myself. And I
That's
have it on
crazy.
CD. So a lot of people, they look at this, I use it as a prop in in my videos now. You can see it. But a lot of people think this is a lot. It's not. Okay. I've seen this is what they call 2 volumes. I've seen these be up to 20 volumes. So can
No.
you imagine somebody coming in for a claim for tinnitus? They're 100% permanent total, and somebody's looking through all this? No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. So I think I call it YouTube myth. Somebody's out there spreading this misinformation. One, a VA employee does not have time to go through and look at all this stuff, but there are some times that they do, and it's less than, I would say it's less than 1%. You're on a quota, so you're going through these claims really fast, but the times I had to go back and look, the veteran did something way back then, probably waited 8 or 9 years and didn't think that we still had that information, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And it's not always a negative thing when I did have to go back, so I can just remember one example, but the rest of the times I had to go back and look at something, it was a positive outcome. So let's keep it going, Dave. What is the third and final misconception that you have?
That VA home loans are very expensive. Now, that is, in a sense, a misconception, but there's also some truth to it. And I'm going to explain why. And I'll kind of reference one video that kind of went viral with Dave Ramsey talking about VA home loans are horrible. They're extremely expensive. And to a degree, he's correct, because and also you have the other side of the veterans are like, well, the VA protects veterans because they limit the fees they can charge. Well, guess what? They're pretty high fees that they can charge, right? And so one of those is an origination fee, and you can typically
Okay.
charge up to 2 discount points. So for veterans that are looking online, are trying to find find how to use their VA home loan, the first thing that happens, just like when you're doing VA disability, all these people that make a lot of money off of you are going to reach out to you. They're going to come up first because they're sponsoring all this stuff, and it just becomes very expensive. And at the end of the day, if you are being marketed to from the get-go and then being followed, you are paying for that in essence in marketing, because marketing is a very expensive piece to that. So when you are looking at your loan options, what you can do is ask the lender, whoever you're talking to, and obviously from my end, I'm happy to help you out and utilize that beautiful VA home loan and provide transparency, because that's the one thing that we always hear from people that reach out, is that just transparency and not having some kind of used car salesman approach. It's just, this is the information, this is how it works, these are the fees, and so that you will understand what you're getting yourself into. So you're not paying these exorbitant fees just to use your VA loan. And so for some veterans too, they're looking at, well, what's my bottom line interest rate? That's all I care about. But they're not understanding that, well, this is costing you X amount of money. And normally we want to look at it from a numbers perspective. I'm a numbers guy. I want to look at the numbers. Like, if I pay $10,000 to save $100 a month, does that make sense? No, it's not going to make sense, right? It's a recoupment period. We know, and if you guys, have watched markets, they're cyclical. They go up and down. Rates go up and down. So if you're at the low end, stay where you're at. If they're at the high, it might be time to look at those options. But you really got to track the market. If you check out my channel, VA Housing Education, we're doing updates. If things are happening in real time, we're providing that information so you could really maximize your benefits and become homeowners, because there's so many benefits to that piece. So, Dwayne, what
Right.
is the last thing that you have that veterans misconceptions around?
Veterans thinking that VA raters are only trained to deny claims. And the first question when I hear that, I'm like, are you service connected? Yeah, I got 30%. So how are they only trained just to deny if you got any percentage, right?
Right.
Now, we are trained on not only to approve claims, we also have to deny claims when the veteran did not meet the burden of proof per the VA guidelines, not what the veteran
Gotcha.
thinks, per the VA guidelines, because I've rated cases where I was like, man, if only the veteran sent this in, the veteran only did this. And that's what I'm sharing in my channel now, right? I'm giving you that blueprint. Okay. So yes, do VA raters have to deny claims sometimes? Yeah, because it didn't, they followed the process and followed the regulations, I should say, and have denied. But most of the time they do grant. But I think it's like this YouTube myth that's been put out there that VA raters only are trained to deny, which again, if you have any percentage, then you already know that statement is not true.
Right. No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I mean, but all these things are cumulative because you watch something online and it may not be true. You read something, someone posts something, and then you talk to your friend. So sometimes you have like multiple layers. Like it's like an onion. You kind of undo it. It's like the same thing on my end. Don't deny yourself. Reach out. We can help you. Same thing on your end, right? You're searching VA disability. Go to people that know it because just like me, I want to give you that insider track. You were a rater before. Right. So you know what they're looking for. Same thing on my end from the lending side, not just a high level overview, like the nitty gritty of, well, what works, what doesn't work, and then how does this apply to your situation? So get educated.
Right. Yeah.
The key.
I had somebody tell me, well, Dwayne, you've been retired for a few years now, but guess what hasn't changed? That 38 sale for the M21. Now they update it, but if you understand where to go and find the information and apply it, that's key. Like you said, the VA handbook,
right?
You know where to go find it. You know how to read it or figure out, what chapter that you need. And then you know how to apply it as it pertains to what you or another veteran is doing when it comes to VA home loans. So now you have that information. Now you can move forward with living a dream and purchasing your own home. Simple as that.
That's what I love to hear.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and close it out, everyone. Make sure you go over to VA Housing Education, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern time, Dave and we go live and take your questions as it pertains to VA home loans and VA compensation. So make sure you hit that notification button so you'll get notified when we go live. Thank you.